let's talk about what you all are talking about. All across the country, kids are back in school, and right now there's a pretty fierce debate going on about books, which ones are appropriate and which ones should be banned from classrooms and libraries. So check out these signs that one Oklahoma high school English teacher posted in her classroom. They say, quote, "Books the state doesn't want you to read." She then provided students with a QR code that they could scan if they wanted to, which leads them to a Brooklyn library that allows students everywhere to read banned books. Some of those titles include Genderqueer, this book called Tomboy about girls who dare to be different, and even Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. Now, the teacher from Oklahoma has now quit after she says a parent complained and she was put on administrative leave. Oklahoma is one of the many states that have recently passed laws leading to books getting banned, mainly based on parents who can complain and get teachers fired or fined. Before you respond, Al, as a parent and as a former teacher, I just want to say too, this teacher in particular is a sophomore English teacher, and the way this works, at least within her school district, is that all you need is one parent to say, "I don't like this book." They complain to the district, to the principal, to the teacher. That teacher has 30 days not to petition it, not to come back with her own side of the story. She has 30 days to remove it. And then if she doesn't remove it, she could be face losing her job, because if the school district doesn't enforce it, that school district faces $10,000 a day fines until they deal with that said teacher.
Right.
What do you think?
I think that here we are. This is, like I've been saying, this has been an attack on public schools, attack on public education forever. These are
forever or more recent?
I would say since like we started getting the Betsy DeVos and the charter school people that are clearly pushing for charter schools because they are not regulated. So we are going to tell teachers that they need to take firearms training. They should be prepared to be yelled at after school board meetings, and that if anybody has any problem with anything that makes anybody uncomfortable in a public school, one individual can change the entire curriculum. Erica, as somebody that taught middle school for 5 years, if I'm teaching out of a textbook or using a unique book for maybe 1 or 2 months, if somebody takes that book away, well, then I find myself in quite a pickle. So just think, let's take it away from something public teaching. Let's say it was a public bus. What if the 3 guys back from you didn't like the way we were going? He thinks the highway's faster. So now 30 days of that bus, this can't work. This is designed to shut down systems, not make them go.
Well, I would push back and say this has been an attack on public schools forever.
Right.
I mean, when it really comes down to it, there has been a very systematic, fundamental way that we have handled public school systems, because public schools just aren't as important, especially when we're talking about what's considered the lower quartile. This is interesting to me, just the idea that now we are really looking at literature as making people feel uncomfortable, when we all know that we read out loud The Adventures of Huck Finn, which had the N-word 219 times in it, and no one seemed truly concerned about the comfort levels of any of the students in the classrooms then. Obviously, this means that this can go either way, so it could become a war of people just deciding all the books are banned. But at the end of the day, no one in the upper echelon is really affected by this, because they don't send their children to public schools. They send them to private schools. They are protected, and what they're doing is making their constituency fight against their own best interests and the best interests of their children. Wow. So if people want to go through party lines and not consider their children's best interests, then we'll see how that ends up for everyone.
How long till books on evolution make people uncomfortable?
Wow.
What are we, fascist? If it makes you history's uncomfortable. The English language is uncomfortable. Our whole background is uncomfortable. Oscar Wilde writes, "The books the world calls immoral are the books that show the world its own shame." Shame on us for not understanding that's how you teach the other generation. I can't talk about formerly enslaved people, the Holocaust. I can't talk about, evolution. What if Harry Potter makes you uncomfortable for witchcraft? Wars? We can't talk about wars, so what are we going to read? Puppies and unicorns? This is outrageous.
And you know what's horrific too? It's like they don't want to make certain kids uncomfortable by teaching them the truth. How do you think the children of color, little Erica and little Al, feel in classroom when maybe they're dealing with real racism in real time.
Exactly.
Yet little Sam and little Tori can't read about racism?
Because it makes you
Come on.
uncomfortable. What about those experiencing it? What about that?
I don't get it.
It's a way to delete history so that it can be repeated. You know, once people understand the game plan, they can get ahead of it. But if they don't learn about it, everything will seem brand new and the cycle will start again. So this is all a plan, and you know, unless this is stopped at some point,
it will be.
We're going to be in a very well.
This is a First Amendment issue to the core.
But we've already
ACLU
lost
will
a
be
teacher.
putting a lawsuit out there. This is absolutely outrageous, and she should have quit. And good for her. She's a whistleblower, and she should be proud. That's outrageous.
And she also is in high school. We're not talking about second graders learning about sex.
Exactly.
Like, we're not. I just want to debunk that really quickly because I've seen some comments saying, I don't want my second grader learning about X, Y, and Z.
Fair.
Everything is age appropriate. Okay. Whew. Here's another controversial topic that's happening in schools in Texas. So a law there requires schools to post donated signs with the U.S. motto, "In God We Trust." Well, one man is pushing to get schools to post the sign in Arabic. Here's the sign that he's having made and donating to the schools. He says the text is meant to invoke Islam. So far, he's raised more than $14,000 to get the signs made. He says that if a school rejects his sign, he plans to sue. So here's the question. Does God belong in the classrooms? And if so, is it okay to include gods from different religions? What would you say as a former teacher? Also, he's an atheist. He's just trying to make a point.
I think the better question is, do parents belong in classrooms? Because every question that we're having on this panel today is about parents interfering in children's lives at this point. I said probably last week when we were talking about whether BLM signs, Back the Blue signs, all
Very similar, yeah.
It had nothing to do with either one of those entities. Those entities are adults, Erica. And quite frankly, I could care less about adults. Can these kids have 45 minutes to focus on anything without having the entire weight of the world put on every book they read, everything that they do, every comment the teacher makes can now be litigated? It seems like we're trying to drive our kids crazy. That's what it seems. Please tell me I am wrong.
No, I mean, I would add to driving them crazy also to deny them education, to deny them the ability to truly see the world and have a chance in it because they're informed of how the world actually works. I mean, it's always interesting to me, you know, as a daughter of an educator, there were never a shortage of parents who needed my mother to tutor their child. Like, there are so many parents who lack the ability, and this is no shade, no tea, but past a certain grade, they are obsolete when it comes to helping their children.
Yeah.
You remember
probably 8th grade math, and that's
you remember
it.
The two twins, the twins, Miles and Austin Harrington. They have a petition still right now. You can go to it called Acceptance Classes. They provided a whole curriculum based on the things that they experienced as two young black boys in the South. They created a whole curriculum that instills just like a subject matter since kindergarten, age-appropriate curriculum since kindergarten, acceptance classes. People with disabilities, people of different races, people of different sexual identities. So you don't have a fear because we know when there's a fear, there's an ignorance that leads to prejudice behavior. I don't understand why that's such a bad thing. We need that more than anything. So if you agree, go to Miles and Austin's amazing
I'll just add this, Sam. Politicians
petition.
need prejudice and fear to drive people to the voting booths. There's no politics without that. Unless I can say, if you don't vote for me, this is going to happen and they're going to be at your front door. Why do people go out to vote? It's just fear. It's the only way you can get people to do anything.